this guy matters. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm still questioning, is he going to be on the Blazers?
I just don't think he has it anymore.
Melo's the role he didn't want in Oklahoma City.
Carmelo Anthony drills it straight away.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Control the Narrative, episode 69. Who is Control the Narrative? We're a podcast that controls the narrative that the media creates. If you're new around here, subscribe to catch our weekly podcast where we talk Melo, Blazers, and other basketball things. And if you're a returner, you're a subscriber, you're a Control the Narrative member, better yet, we appreciate you as always. Speaking of Control the Narrative members, we have a new member, a returning guest on this Control the Narrative podcast, and a longtime follower of Control the Narrative on Instagram. I'd like to welcome my guy Elmac. Lionel, what's going on, bro, to the show?
What it do? How you guys doing? Good to have. Thanks for having me back.
Of course.
Obviously, lots is going on in Knicks and Melo and Blazer land. So everything is lovely.
Yeah. We usually start out this podcast, especially with new guests, and we say, yo, tell us about your story. To this day, I think your story, your fandom story of being in New Orleans for Syracuse was one of the best ones. Just wanted to throw that out there. And then also, today is May 11th, and me and Lionel are pretty excited because both of our birthdays are coming up. Mine is the 20th, is the 21st. We just found that out. So pretty excited about that. And we don't really, me personally, like Knicks and Melo, a lot of times we haven't watched Melo and the Knicks play up until our birthday. There was maybe 2 or 3 times in my entire life. So pretty exciting about that. But let's get into it. Let's cut to Melo. He's missed the past few games with a sprained ankle. Who knows, TBD, if he's going to play tomorrow in Utah. But he had one of his best games of the season in Cleveland, where he was shooting the ball well. He passed the ball well. He was defending well. The Blazers had a dominant victory. And then the very next game, he took 3 shots, scored 3 points in 18 minutes versus the Lakers. And we've kind of seen this trend throughout the year where Melo will have a great game, and then the next game, either he'll shoot the ball poorly or he just won't get the opportunity. So really ups and downs. My question to you is, how do you handle the ups and downs of the season, especially in a season like this where it's been such peaks and such valleys where, like I said, one game he could literally score 28 and the next game take 3 shots?
Yeah, it has been literally, as you're saying, a total roller coaster. I've obviously, like you, a huge Melo fan, cheer for him every shot, every play, every possession, screaming for him at times at my laptop or on my phone to get the ball. So to see, even you talk about these last 2 games, I was like literally running around my house when he popped off against Cleveland, and then like I still am beside myself on this 3-shot 3-point performance. And 18 minutes is not a lot, but we've seen him literally go at sometimes a point a minute or more. So it's a little frustrating. I guess, using the old sports analogy of just one day at a time and one game at a time. The injury right now hurts because I think we were all kind of scrambling. Where did this sprained ankle come from?
Yeah.
Didn't hear about it, didn't know about it. Like, is this like, again, someone trying to write a new narrative and put him on the pine for the rest of the year? Like, I don't know, but he's not playing. It doesn't look like, it's like, I know you and I, Steve, we've been talking lots about this, getting into the top 10 of all time scoring. And now that this is, literally being the top 9 has gone up in smoke for the regular season. And we're now going to be, so I'm going to give him a chance. Is the Blazer going to sign him again? It's like, it's like you just try to take a deep breath and, hopefully everything just kind of works out. But it's at times it's been incredibly frustrating and incredibly stressful. But It's how we do it. We've been at this for a long time now. So
Yeah. You know, one thing you said that I thought was just crazy. It's like you said, damn, now we're going to go into the offseason because the career points don't count in the playoffs. I don't know if a lot of people
no,
know
they
that.
don't.
Like a couple of people have been like, oh, he's just going to get in the playoffs. It doesn't, like, these points, obviously they fucking matter. You're trying to win a championship, but they don't matter for your career points. They don't count towards your career points. The crazy thing that you said that had me thinking was like, all right, now we're going to go into another offseason. Are the Blazers going to give him another chance? Is he going to go somewhere else? Where is he going to go? And just like that thought for a guy who is 18 years in and a first ballot Hall of Famer, and forget about everything he's done in his career, what he did this year for the Blazers when CJ and Nurk were out, all those games, it's just crazy the fact that we even have to question that. Like, damn, is he going to get another shot when like we see what he's doing? And another thing that you said, which is it's like PTSD, where I remember in the beginning of the year where Melo was out a game for COVID protocols or something like that, and people were like, holy shit, the game before they had like benched them during the last 6 minutes of the game or something like that. Something happened the game before, and everyone's like, yo, is this like another blackball situation? Like, why is he not playing? And like it came out of nowhere. It's just like crazy that we have PTSD like that, isn't it?
It totally is. Like I just don't like I get it because we've been fighting this ever since the whole Rockets thing happened, ever since even the OKC thing happened, that the New York thing and how it eventually dissolved and he ended up in OKC. Like, we've been so protective of Carmelo and his legacy, but just even like to give him a chance to play, and now we're in the same scenario again. He misses a game, and it's like, what's happening? Is someone doing something? Like, but this is the narrative that's created, that we are struggling and on pins and needles and on the edge of our couches just to realize whether is he going to come back next game? Is he going to play? And like, we're way beyond is he going to start? Like, we're beyond that narrative, because that was how long ago that we were debating whether he'd start or he would sit or come off the bench. So it is very sad. And I know you shared a video earlier today of how amazing it was, and I know I talked to you about another podcast, which I'm not going to mention here, that was giving him a hard time about he's a one-dimensional player and all this, and then he was selfish that he had to make a speech after being in the top 10 of all time in the locker room after a loss, and he didn't say like, this doesn't mean anything. It does mean anything, because he was out of the league for a year and a half, and no one wanted to give him a chance. LeBron didn't. And I'm going to call LeBron out until the day I die. LeBron is his boy, his banana boat boy, and didn't want to give him a chance. I don't know if he can help us win. Like, that is in so many words. That's exactly what he was saying. So to get to this point, and for him now to get this chance to be on the Blazers, and we've been on pins and needles every single game. But then to see that he shows up in practice, has no idea, and everyone is wearing this Melo shirt, and they make him give a speech, and they take a picture, and they made him a trophy. Like, this guy matters. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm still questioning: is he even going to be on the Blazers? Like, how is this going to play out? And is he, once again, along with the rest of us, because we'll be right behind him, is he going to be left holding the bag?
Yeah. It's wild shit. Those shirts are absolute fire. And the fact that the Blazers,
I need one. You need one.
The fact that they're releasing 75 of them in Portland, not online or anything, I think is a crime. Just gonna throw that out there because those shirts are fire. There, if you haven't seen them, they're ME and then 10. It looks like Melo, but it's top 10 all time. Absolute fire. And then on the back, I think it had like all the names of the top 10. Sick shit.
Don't worry, we're gonna get our bootleg on. Don't worry.
I already did. Don't tell me. Well, real quick to finish this ups and downs thing. I think it's extra difficult because the ups and downs aren't his fault. When there were ups and downs in Denver, when there were ups and downs in New York, personally, like I'm talking about shooting percentages, points, him scoring 10 points one game, 30 the next, whatever. at the end of the day, it was because of him. Either he didn't shoot the ball well, or whatever happened. But now it's like it's not because of him. Like, he can't take more shots if they don't give him the ball. He can't contribute more offensively and play make if the ball's not in his hands. He can't do different things. And like, it's out of his hands, which is frustrating, where it's like the up is, damn, they give him the ball and he usually plays well. And the down is, damn, he had 3 shots in 18 minutes. And we know after that he hurt his ankle trying to guard Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis like posting up. I saw the video, and Melo like tweaked his ankle real quick. But I think that's the frustrating part here, where it's like he can't do anything about it. He can't take more shots if he doesn't get the ball, and he can't be as productive if like he doesn't get it. When in Denver and in New York, it was like, all right, if he scored 16 points, like that was like, what the fuck happened last night? But it was because he wasn't shooting the ball well. So I think shooting the ball well. So I think that's like the most frustrating thing. And and there's a reason. All I'm going to say on this is there's a reason I do these game recaps on Instagram and Twitter the morning after, because sometimes I get heated right like during the game and after the game, and I would not be a nice person if I was writing these posts like right after it happened. I need to sleep on it. So.
I've asked myself that for a long time, but I've already it was kind of a rhetorical question because I knew the answer. I knew at times you either would be on cloud 9 or you are like literally busting because you're so furious on
100%.
how the game flow went, or let's I could go in on the coach like for a whole podcast episode on just how the misuse of this player is beyond me.
Yeah. You were right. That is it. Sometimes I like literally my head's in the clouds, and other times like I'm thinking about just never watching another Blazer game again.
Yeah.
You mentioned the coach. Let's get into different players and if the coach has an impact on it. So it seems that players on this team step up, especially offensively, obviously. Melo stepped up with CJ Nurk out. Norman Powell stepped up lately with Melo out the past few games. Dame was stepping up. See, like somebody always steps up offensively and puts points on the board. We know that like all these guys are great scorers for the most part. My question to you is, do you think the reason that these Blazers are so interchangeable, and if CJ's out, no problem, Powell takes more shots. If Melo's out, no problem, then CJ gets more shots. If Dame's out, Melo, whatever. Because do you think all of these guys are so interchangeable because they're just straight up talented, or do you attribute any of it to Terry Stotts and his ability just to piece things together?
No, I attribute nothing to the coach whatsoever. I'm going to say that just like that. So to elaborate, no, you know what? The thing is about the Blazers is that they are extremely talented, whether in isolation, in many of them, like half of them are great or really good at least. Spot up shooters are guys that also can create their shot when the clock is going down. So the pieces, and I don't know if they're all interchangeable, but there's just a lot of guys they have on the team that can get their own shot or get their own shot up, and when pass the ball after a skip pass or 2 passes around, they can make a basket. That's just what they have. They have and it's the wing guys that they have. Just so many wing guys that can do this. I don't think it's the coach. Hey, the coach has got to put something out there. It's the players. The biggest thing, though, again, what makes the Blazers. They're not kind of the upper echelon of the NBA, and we're hovering around the 4th or 5th seed in the West. Is they just don't play a high enough level of defense. That's kind of the big thing that I see. Like if you and I'll compare because I'm wearing a Knicks hat, and you're well aware that I'm a Knicks fan, and you're wearing your Knicks gear because we got the Lakers tonight, and not to deviate, but the Knicks, whether it was, it's Noel or it's Mitchell, they have rim protectors. They're better on the perimeter than the Blazers. The Blazers are way more talented when it comes to scoring the basketball. Like And again, this is why their games are in the 130s every week. And literally almost every game. The problem is that they can't stop anyone. So if you want to talk about the coach, how can he not motivate or scheme or do whatever a good coach is supposed to do to get a team to play better defense?
Adapt.
And
At the end of the day,
they play good defense at times, but it's so inconsistent. I call it like Vince Carter defense. When he wants to, he can be an incredible defender, but that's like one every 10 possessions, and that ain't good enough. We need him to be Kawhi and not be Vince Carter. So
yeah,
that's I'm using my Toronto lingo right now because those guys are super relevant. The difference between why Toronto got so far with Vince and got so far with Kawhi is defense. It's not clutch shooting. It's not athletic ability. They don't play defense all the time. And that's, going back to the Knicks, that's why the Knicks are good, because the Knicks play a slower style, which is fine, but they can stop guys, and they can stop guys on the perimeter and stop guys in the paint. The Blazers can't.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about the Knicks and the Blazers, where like I've said it in a few of the podcasts over the last month, that like the Blazers are just a bunch of scorers who don't defend, and the Knicks are a bunch of defenders, and like they could use a score or two. And like Julius has been great, D Rose has been great lately. But as far as like any of this attributing to stats in terms of their ability to be so interchangeable, the most backhanded compliment way I can put it, his just coaching style on offense of like, yo, do whatever the fuck you want, is the reason that all these guys are so interchangeable, because the Blazers have so many good scorers. Dame, CJ, Powell, Melo, Nurk can score if he wants. Cantor. They just have Simons. I don't know if I said Simons just now. Like all guys who can get their own shot. And I almost feel like they have too many scorers, because when one of these guys is out, whether it's CJ, Melo, Norm, Dame, whatever, shit seems to just feel more natural, and guys aren't feeling like they have to force shots. Like, all right, well, I haven't taken a shot in 12 possessions. It's my turn. And then CJ comes down. It's my turn. And then this guy comes down. It's my turn. Like Simons, every time that guy gets the ball, he fucking shoots it. So I don't think it really has anything to do with stats in a positive way, besides like him just being like, yo, on offense, go out and do what you do. And for years, obviously, offensively, like we've seen it works. Dame and CJ work offensively. People can say all they want about, Dame and CJ, they can't play next to each other. It's not on the offensive end. Like maybe the only thing you can say is that it's too much my turn, your turn thing. And they really don't make each other that much better when you really think about it. Like how many spot up shots does CJ get a game? How much does CJ create for Dame, whether it's like a back pick or whatever? So I just think this team offensively is very talented in terms of scoring, and really like what stats does is just like go out and do what you do, and they listen, and they can score against everybody. But like you said, if they can't defend anybody, doesn't mean shit. And we'll get into that in the next question. But yeah, I don't attribute anything positive to stats on this either.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Like you look at, and I'll use another analogy. This team is, I wouldn't say as lethal, but very comparable to, call it the Golden State team of 2015, 2016, and you just have so many weapons that can score, but versus the my turn, your turn to take a shot, they would just work it, and whoever's open by the end of the fifth pass or whatever, that's who gets a shot because it's wide open. And the only thing that they think about is then if the guy makes 2 or 3 in a row, now we're going to feed him. So that's why you see these games that Clay would have, and he'd have 8 dribbles, but 60 points, because the guys would just feed him, and they would feed him until he's wide open. If it took 12 passes to get in wide open, they would do it. But the Blazers aren't like that. The Blazers,
dude,
they don't roll like that.
I don't know if you saw it, but last night they played Houston. Obviously, Houston is one of the worst teams in the league right now.
Yeah.
But there was a possession where the Blazers had like 5 passes. And I genuinely believe if Melo was playing last night, that wouldn't have happened. Not because Melo wouldn't have passed it, but because Melo would have taken 8-9 shots minimum on like a normal night. And one of those guys in the back of their mind would have said, damn, this is one of the best looks I'll get all night. I'm shooting this. And it just goes back to what I think of, like, there's just too many scores. There's not enough guys focusing on defense.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you see it sometimes when CJ comes down, when Melo comes down, when Norm comes down, when Dame comes down, like, guys feel like, okay, they took a shot the past few possessions. It's my turn. Like, Melo made 3 in a row, but then he missed one. All right, now it's back to me. So it's frustrating, man. It's but at the same time, like, I don't know. I just think that this team is very interchangeable in that way, in terms of just like anybody being able to score at any time, which is a good thing. But Mac, looking ahead to the playoffs.
Let's look at the playoffs. I'm just going to flip my screen here. So
we don't know where the Portland Trailblazers are going to land in the West. We don't know who they're going to play. We don't know any of that yet. What I'm curious to know from you is just what their ceiling is. Like, forget about who they're playing, forget about home court advantage and all those things. Best case scenario, what do you think the Portland Trailblazers do this postseason?
It's complicated. And as I look at my phone really quick, so they're the 60th. They're supposed to play the Clippers. If things align the way it is, and hey, the Nuggets could sneak up and steal, because the Clippers have been playing so poorly. Again, the Knicks beat them on Sunday. The Raptors are playing them tonight. So hey, let's say it's either Portland Portland's going to play the Clippers or the Nuggets.
Yep.
They can beat either one of those teams.
Can or can't?
Can. Because they're so talented on offense. And we've seen, particularly, like, I think it's a very interesting matchup right now if they play the Clippers, because Kawhi's got a bad hand, and that's the best player on the Clippers. We know what we've seen, and no disrespect, Paul George, but we've seen what happens the last couple of years.
Disrespect to Paul George.
When you show up in the playoff and you talk about playoff P, and playoff P ain't shit. So so let's call it. It could happen. It could be an upset there. Now we're talking after the play-on games, and LeBron cries, and maybe the Lakers make it in or not. I don't think whoever that playoff team is beats the Suns. But I think that's a really, really interesting series now if you're talking the Suns against the Blazers. So, and then, hey, the Utah is the number 1 seed as it stands right now. And yeah, who knows? Like, Utah could easily, all things align, could play Golden State, and Steph Curry plays out of his mind, and we could be talking upset. So the true ceiling of this team still remains the same. They can make it to the NBA final. And no one wants to believe that, but that is the fact, because there's so many people that can score, and there's so many other teams that are one injury away from just being eliminated. Hey, Mitchell out, Chris Paul out, Kawhi Leonard out. Like, those teams are done. If the Blazers were to lose CJ or Dame, they're not done. There is still enough players, if everybody else is healthy, that they can give a lot of teams in the West a run. Now, hey, a lot of things gonna have to align, and yes, a very difficult series. And I'm saying I think they can beat the Clippers. That's my personal opinion. The way the Clippers are playing right now, and the Blazers having their players back, if they're ready by playoff time, because it looks like they're going to hold on to the 6th seed. And that's why LeBron is all crying, because now he's going to have to play a play-in game.
Good.
And respect LeBron, but you've done some dumb stuff, including complaining, and then some of the comments you've made. So I'm calling you out right now.
Last year was cool though, but this year, since the Lakers are in and out, whoever made that up needs to be fired.
Yeah. So again, like I think that the ceiling, and again, we're talking ceiling versus what
Yeah,
actually
right.
happened. The ceiling is the NBA final. Like, do I think they can beat, the best team in the East, which I think is Brooklyn? No, I don't think they can beat them. Like when we talk horses to horses, if you say you're going to put
That'd be a hell of a
KD and Kyrie and Harden, and they're going to share the ball, forget it. Like there's no chance. But just looking at the West is like the
Yep.
Portland Trailblazers could be in the NBA final. Could, if all things aligned. And so that is truly their ceiling, despite many people saying, hey, they will go out quietly like a lamb in round one. I've heard that on more than one occasion. But
Yeah.
the Blazers can make it to the finals.
Fair. It's so hard to analyze this team because they can look so good some games and look so bad some games. So it's so tough. It's like, what's the real Portland Trailblazers team? Is it the team that no matter what the other team does, this team could just outscore them and it doesn't matter? Is that this Blazers team that we saw in the bubble last year where, yeah, they were giving up 115 a game, but they were putting up 122, so it didn't matter? Or is this Blazers team the team that needs to be on all the time offensively because they can't guard anybody? And that's what's so hard about this team. We don't know which team's going to show up. Forget about the playoffs, like on a night-to-night basis. We have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how much Melo's going to be involved every game. We don't know. There's just so many questions. With all that being said, also, Blazers Nets would be such a fun fucking finals. All offense. Obviously, guys would try harder on defense here in the fucking finals, but at the end of the day, those games would be insane. We're talking ceiling, like you said. So ceiling, oh my God, I think that they can make it to the finals too. And again, we're talking ceiling. This isn't what I think is going to happen. Ceiling, I think if they get into the finals against a team like Milwaukee or a team like Philly,
They can win.
They can.
Yeah.
Not that they're going to, they can. That is the ceiling of this team. And that is how good they look on some nights where they just come out and Dame is shooting from 35 feet. CJ is hitting his shots. Norm is slashing. Melo is like the fucking fourth or fifth option. And to have a guy like that as your fourth or fifth option, it's crazy. I think they can win the championship. Obviously, so many things have to go right, and not necessarily injuries. I don't think like injuries have to happen for them to make the finals, but there is just so much that needs to happen for that to happen. And talking about the Blazers making the finals, but they can compete with anybody on any given night, and at the same time, they can get beat by anybody on any given night. And you could say that for a lot of teams. Some guys have it and shit like that, but it's just crazy how it's not like just Dame will shoot poorly. He'll shoot poorly. CJ will shoot poorly. Melo will take 4 shots. Norm will shoot poorly, and it just looks really, really bad. So,
Best it's an utter train wreck.
Yeah, best case scenario, I think we see a return like we've been seeing, not against the best competition lately, but best case scenario, we can see a bubble Blazers return where they just outscore everybody and Dame starts heating up. CJ does his thing. Norm, Melo, Nurk, all these guys. But again, it's going to be tough, but I believe it can happen.
Yeah, I think, again, if they can get into close games, we've seen that they have two of the best closers in recent NBA history in Dame and Melo. Like it is, and not to say that CJ's a slouch, but like they have the capability of, if they want to slow it down into a half-court game with 3 minutes to go, that they can come out with a W.
Options.
So it should be really, really. Again, you can't key in on one guy because someone else will burn you.
Exactly. And also, we posted it on social the other day. Carmelo Anthony is the third best three-point shooter in the fourth quarter this year. Minimum of, I think it was 50 games played or maybe 60, and 1 3-point attempt of fourth quarter. Third best shooter in the entire league. Why he doesn't finish games, No
beyond
fucking
me.
idea. But
No, you know what? You and I both
we,
know. It's the
we
coach.
know why. We
Yeah.
we know why. Hopefully that changes in the playoffs. TBD.
Yeah.
But interesting. Let's go into what we actually think is going to happen. Let's start with the Blazers. What you think is going to happen? Forget who they're playing. It seems like right now it's going to be the Clippers, but they're only a half game behind the Mavericks, and the Blazers have the tiebreaker over the Mavericks, so it could be a 4-5 matchup with Denver. What do you think is going to happen for Portland in these playoffs? Give us that, and then give us your prediction on the finals matchup and who's going to win.
Okay, that's a loaded one.
Yeah.
So I've already given you what I hope. I hope that they end up as the 6 and the Clippers end up as the 3, because I smell an upset there in the Blazers winning. Now again, they're really close to being, in that 5 seed, and the team that I don't want to play is Denver. And
Wow,
yes,
I'm the opposite of you.
yeah, is Denver can make you, because of Jokic and the way he plays, and literally he almost lulls you to sleep. He can make them, because they do not play great defense and he's such a great passer, he can single-handedly make them look really, really bad. Now, again, they got to make shots. They do not have their dynamic player in Jamal Murray, so I think it would be a very interesting series because of how well the Blazers can play. And again, that would be like a battle of wills in terms of what pace do they play at.
Yep.
If they play at the Blazers' pace, the Blazers win. It's not even close, because the Blazers, if they play fast, can score, and they will have a hard time stopping them. But at the same time, if it's slowed down and like they were playing the Knicks, they play at the Nuggets pace, I think the Blazers are in trouble. So it's a very interesting way. Like, geez, like the team I would love to play in the first round, because I think they would just destroy them, would be the Mavericks. But I don't think that's happening based on the amount of games left and the ranking right now. So I think where the Blazers will end up will be the 6 seed, but if they sneak into the 5 seed, and I think the injuries, and then hey, the Lakers aren't going to catch us. We like playing. I'm not saying they're going to throw games, but they're going to protect guys to make sure that things don't get any worse before we get to the playoffs. I really like their changes against the Clippers, despite what other people think. And it's like, oh, this Clippers team should have won last year and they didn't win, and then they're going to win this year and avenge that. They took Rondo from the Lakers, so I don't see it though. I don't see the Lakers or the Clippers being good enough to beat the Blazers. They're not better than the Blazers on paper because of the scoring. So I think then if they end up in that 3-6 game, I think their work is cut out for them against the Suns. That's just being honest. And hey, anything can happen when you play a series, but the way the Suns have been playing, and it's like the bubble is continued for them since last year, right through this entire year. It doesn't look like they'll catch Utah, which will be, it will align that the Blazers, if they win the first round, would have to play the Suns. I can't see any of those teams. Now, granted, if the Lakers are the 7 seed and LeBron is healthy, that then is a different matchup now for the Suns, and I don't think they want any part of that one. They hope LeBron is not healthy and find a way to lose, and that's that. And then you still have the you have the Golden State Warriors kind of looming around, and I think no one wants any part of Steph Curry in the playoffs. But again, this is why the West is so interesting on how it plays out. But I think they win. I think if they play the Clippers, they win the first round. I think if they play the Nuggets, they could win, but they easily could lose.
So what I'm hearing is they're going to make it to the second round and get knocked out.
Yeah, I think if they align themselves in playing the Suns, I don't think that lines up well for them. They could still win, and you know what? We could get bubble Blazers going again, and it's a whole different thing. And we're talking they could make a run right to the NBA Finals. As good as Utah's been this year, I think that they could be a team that ends up being they do not make it to the conference final. Like, I'll put
I
money
agree.
on that right now on
I agree.
Utah. If they stay as the number 1 seed, they do not make it to the conference final. Like, I just don't believe in that. I believe in the Suns. I don't believe in Utah. So sorry, Utah. I'm disrespecting you on this podcast, but I don't think you're a playoff test. And I love Donovan Mitchell. I think he's great, but I think they get upset. That's what's going to happen.
I'm trying not to agree with you so that this isn't like a boring prediction.
Yeah.
Again, we go to the Blazers, and I said it again. They're just such a hard team to predict because we don't know which Blazers team is going to come out. But if I had to predict, I'm the opposite of you. I am one of those people who think that this Clippers team is very, very good, that they're out for revenge, that they're one of the best, if not the best, three-point shooting team in the league. And against a team like the Blazers, who don't play a lot of defense, they're going to get those looks, and that makes me nervous because it's just a matter of whether they're going to hit them or not. I just think Denver without Murray, even though Michael Porter Jr. has stepped the fuck up big time.
Huge. I don't know where this guy came from. Like, he was like literally down and out in Chicago, and like it, and like he looks like the player that they drafted.
Yeah, he does. He's stepped up big time in Jamal Murray's absence. But I feel like Jamal Murray, like we saw what he did last year in the bubble, in the playoffs. He's just such a big part of this team, and I don't think they can overcome that. And it sucks for them because I feel like they were really poised to make a deep run this postseason. Murray goes down. So I think if they play the Nuggets, they beat Denver. I'm hoping that the Blazers get that 5 seed. If they beat the Clippers, I believe that they can beat the Clippers, but they're just so good at three-point shooting. They are, from what I understand, a decent defensive team, which the Blazers are not. So I'm just scared of them. But in my gut, I think... See, I don't, just for the fact that we don't agree and make it, I feel like we've been agreeing on everything. I'm going to say Portland gets to the conference finals, and I'm going to say whoever is in there against them, whether it's Phoenix, whether LeBron gets healthy and they make a run. I agree with you on Utah. I don't think Utah is built for this. For whatever reason, it's just a gut feeling. I just don't think, Mitchell is that good to lead a team like that. Bogdanovic has been balling. Ingles, obviously a great three-point shooter. They have Gobert. So, they have pieces, but I just don't trust them in the playoffs.
They remind me a lot of the Bucks. The Bucks that we've seen over the last couple of years. Great regular season team, but when push comes to shove, or Toronto or any other team shoves them around a little bit in the playoffs, they fold like a cheap suit.
That's a good one. That's a good one. But yeah, I think that Dame and CJ, they rally around Stotts. He's been their guy for the past 8 years. There's all these rumors about him not coming back next year. The Blazers are going to let him go and all that. So the players hear this shit. They know all this shit's going on. And I think they make one last try for him, one last push for him. But I just don't think they beat the best team in the West just because they can get on a hot streak. But at the end of the day, they cannot guard anybody. And they can't stay hot forever. I hope they do, but it's just tough. So I don't think they make it out of the West, unfortunately. I think they get to the conference finals.
Yeah.
Let's talk general predictions. 2 teams in the East, I'm going Brooklyn. I think that if they're healthy, let's say everyone's healthy who doesn't have a torn ACL, I think Brooklyn comes out of the East. There's too much fucking firepower, and it hurts me as a Knicks fan to say this. KD, Harden, Kyrie. I don't give a fuck who else is on the team. Everyone's like, yo, but who else is on the team? They have good pieces on the team. Claxton has been balling as a big man for them. They have Joe Harris. They have Shamit, who I think is a little underrated. They have good pieces, and when you have those 3 guys, it doesn't, especially in the playoffs, it doesn't matter as much. So I think Brooklyn comes out of the East. Out of the West, I think Phoenix comes out. I think the Suns are coming out of the West. DeMar, if you're watching, shout out to you, a big Suns fan. And at the end of the day, I feel like Brooklyn takes it. I just think if those three guys are healthy, there's no way that all three of them have an off night on the same night.
Yeah, well, that's gonna sound a little boring, but I think like the Suns are the team in my eyes. They're the team to beat. Now, hey, the Lakers get healthy. The Clippers, Kawhi's hand is better, and like I know he's playing through this left hand injury. Like those are obviously contenders. People will want to talk about Utah because they have the best record in the league, and yeah, I think I eliminate the Nuggets because I think they might have been my choice if Murray didn't blow up his knee because they had all the other pieces.
Yeah.
So, but I just this super team 8.0 or whatever this is now in the NBA, and people want to make fun of these super teams, but super teams have been going on for a long time.
Not player made though.
No, not player made, but guys have like forced their way out to be on a team that, you go back to the Lakers, in the 70s when Will Chamberlain forced his way out and he ended up playing with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. Like that's when these teams started. Although people don't talk about it, but most people will talk about LeBron, taking his talents to Miami, or KD going to wherever he's decided, Golden State. And I still laugh at the KD memes, like whether it's the US women's soccer team that he'll take his talents to that team, or
My next
the women
chapter.
the women's gymnastics team, he'll be on that team if they win the gold medal in the Olympics. So yeah, I think the way that this team came to be, and it's one thing those two guys signed there, but what makes me sick is that Harden forced his way out of Houston, and literally he was wearing like a fat suit, like that, like to say he was overweight, crazy. It is mind blowing, and that he forced his way out. And we all know when you trade for a superstar, you never get fair value. So as much as everyone will want to talk about Carmelo forced his way out of Denver, and Denver got like a ton of assets, where are those assets? Melo is still in the league despite getting kicked out of the league in some people's eyes for the last, up until like little December of 2019. Where are those assets? Like they're either on the bench or not in the league anymore. So who won the trade? The Knicks did. The Knicks, that was the last time the Knicks were even relevant, is when Melo was there. It's funny that the Raptors are now, first time in 8 years, are not in the playoffs, and then Knicks are going to make the playoffs in the last 8 years. So I got something to cheer for still. But anyways, I just don't see like that much talent. Like we would need to see, and I'm talking about Kyrie. We need to see a Kyrie breakdown for the Nets not to win the championship.
Not to win.
Yeah, they're going to win. I think that the Nets are going to win regardless, unless Kyrie has a breakdown. Harden will be fine because now he doesn't need to be the alpha. KD is capable of being the alpha, but wants to be surrounded by guys. And Kyrie loves being Robin. Whoever wants to be Batman between those two, those guys, it can be Justice League. They can fight and figure out who wants to be Superman and who wants to be Batman. And Kyrie is gonna be Robin, and everything will be wonderful. But the Nets just have too much talent, too much individual talent, too much with the shot clock running down. I can get my shot and I can make whatever. Like it's unfortunate that those are the cards, because again, as a Knicks fan, I don't want to see them win. I would love to see, to be honest, like we all could see if the Nets, fall to the second, or no, actually, if the Nets stay as the first seed and the Knicks, hang on to 4 or 5 and play Atlanta, I think the Knicks destroy Atlanta in the first round. And now we're talking a New York series, which would be very interesting. The Knicks don't have the firepower, but you know what? They have two things in their favor. They have youth, and they have a way that they can play. If they can force that they play their style of basketball, it can be a very interesting series. Not to say that they're talented enough to win the series. They do have pieces, and we know that the Knicks have been one of the best 3-point shooting team in the league. So that bodes in their favor that they can just hopefully make shots like we've seen this whole last 15 games, which has been incredible. That we're talking about this team being could finish the season like 10 or 11 games over 500, but
yeah.
The Nets look like the team to beat to me, and I would strongly bank on that the Suns can be that team. LeBron healthy, I would say the Lakers are the best team. But I don't think LeBron's healthy, and I don't think he's going to be healthy. I'm hedging that's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
And we're going to hear him cry and complain the rest of the offseason. So,
yeah. Suns, Nets, with the Nets winning, we both got that.
Yeah. But how many games? Maybe that will make us not agree.
Do you got it? You got yours?
Yeah, I got mine.
5.
6.
I was thinking about 6, but I was like,
yeah, it's too much firepower. It's easy. It could go 4 for all we know.
Yeah.
So,
really good shit. It's gonna be interesting one way or another because like this year, it's especially in the West, it's really, really wide open. There's no one team like we've had the Warriors, like we've had the Lakers, teams like that who just they're shooing. There's not that team right now. We're talking about the Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul and Devin Booker, obviously 2 great players, but we're talking about that team as the favorite in the West, and I still think it can be the Clippers too. But Lionel, we've reached the end of this podcast, hell of a podcast as we get into the playoffs and as we get into our birthdays. At the end of every podcast, we allow our guests to control a narrative. Doesn't have to be Melo related, doesn't have to be basketball related, doesn't have to be sports related, but I'm going to give you the floor and let you control a narrative.
All right. So a narrative that I would have right now because of my Knick fandom is Julius Randle right now as an all-NBA player. And I think there's a lot of debate right now. The way that the all-NBA is set up, and I think that's confusing on its own, that they have 3 front court players and 2 backcourt players. Julius Randle deserves to be a first-team all-NBA player. He's probably going to end up on the second team, maybe the third team, depending on how the voting goes. But I think really to see how well Julius Randle, and I'm surprised that I'm speaking these words because at the beginning of the year and ever since Julius Randle has been on the Knicks, I've been a hater. I've not liked him. I didn't like his attitude. I didn't like his work ethic. But he has earned my respect, and I am standing here on this podcast telling you that I am thoroughly impressed of Julius Randle's leadership and his work ethic and how he's been able to help lead this team. I think really looking at the Knicks, and we see Spike Lee and Stephen A. Smith jumping back on the bandwagon after they said that they were done with this team. I think we have to give a lot of credit to, once Tibbs has done a lot, but I think this young team, where a lot of people kind of wrote them off, oh, this team is winning another 17 games. The narrative that this team has had is that they don't want to work hard. They are not capable of playing in clutch moments, working together and sharing the ball and playing as a team. And I think that narrative is totally off base, and clearly by their play they're showing it that they can definitely ball. This team easily, you could be looking at multiple awards for this team. I don't think the league is going to control that narrative. That ain't even going to happen. I won't even be surprised if Julius Randle is not the most improved player, even though in my eyes, hands down, he should be. So Tibbs has done an amazing coach being a job, and he should probably easily be in the top 3 of coach of the year. We've seen, what Derrick Rose has done in his short time as a Knicks player. He should be in 6th man of the year conversations. He may not win, but he should be on the ballot, and he should definitely be in the top 5. But this, New York Knicks basketball is good for the NBA, despite us winning or not. It's good to have the biggest market in the U.S. Relevant. I wouldn't say we're back is winning a playoff series or 2, but we are definitely relevant again. And I think people are going to say, "Oh, this is the same old Knicks," or this team is way different than the Knicks of, probably since the early 90s, where it was gritty and hardworking and diving for. This is what this team is. And if they can keep the key pieces together, we have some very exciting Knicks basketball to watch over the next 5 to 10 years, so long as they can keep it together again. But this team deserves a lot of credit. Julius Randle deserves a lot of credit. RJ Barrett getting his shot fixed and growing in confidence, and also, building his body. These guys have worked for what they've like, they won 30. It's like double the amount of games they won last year. That's what people are forgetting. And we're playing 10 less games. Like, this team, we could be talking about being a 50-win team in the NBA if we were playing a full 82 games. So the narratives is that the Knicks are the Knicks and no one will, they'll never change. This team is different, and they deserve your respect. I know they have your in mind.
Yes, sir. Well said. I say this on Twitter. I wish I was following the Knicks more closely. Obviously, I'll catch games here and there. I went to a game, but like, I wish I was following them more closely. Just so much focus has been on the Blazers, and when you focus on the Blazers because of Melo, and he shoots 3 times in 18 minutes, you think to yourself sometimes it's like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Like, watching this fucking team with this coach and these players on the floor. But it's been fun as hell to follow from a little further than I normally do this Knicks team, and they're right there. They need 1 or 2 pieces, and they are a legit championship contender. And I hope one of those 2 pieces in the summer ends up being Carmelo Anthony.
No, we've been talking about that since the first podcast that I was on. That it would be a beautiful story to see him in a Knicks jersey to wrap up his career. We're not talking farewell tour, like, we're not at that point yet, but to see him back in a New York Knicks jersey and to be an option that could help support this team. Melo doesn't get enough credit on how he mentored people. I've been fighting with people on Twitter and Instagram the last 2 weeks now that he is giving back to these Blazers, and like, he is one of the most respected guys in the locker room, but doesn't get that respect. And again, with this milestone of getting into the top 10 in NBA history of scoring, like, that is not any small potatoes. Like, go look at the list. Like, you're talking some of the 50 greatest players of all time, and
25
Melo is in the top
25 best players of all time. We're talking.
Melo is in the top 10 in scoring. Who cares if he holds the ball? Like, to get that many buckets in this league is absolutely amazing. And we talk in hip hop now that we got to give people their flowers before they're alive. People need to put some respect on Melo's name. I'm telling you.
Facts. Good shit, Lionel. Bro, appreciate you hopping on. Appreciate you becoming a Control the Narrative member. Means a lot. I've noticed your support over the past almost 2 years. Actually, shit. Next month is the 2-year anniversary of Control. Yeah. I appreciate you taking this ride with us. And for anybody who doesn't follow Elmac on Twitter, Instagram, we're going to put his links in the YouTube description if you're watching this on YouTube. So go hit him up with a follow. Do you want to plug anything?
Yeah, so thanks for again having me on. You can find me at L_MAC42, and then I've also started my own podcast. So Steve, stay tuned. You're definitely going to get the invite over the next few weeks to talk about a variety of different things. But my podcast is Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. I've had lots of both Canadian and U.S. artists, sneakerheads that have been on it. Those are kind of the 3 things in my personal hobbies and tastes that I like. I love sneakers. I love hip hop, and then everything that's life is kind of rolled into the end. But a lot of it is sports, particularly Melo and the Knicks. Even though that they're in 2 different spots, it was utopia when they were at the same place. But it's been a lot of fun. I had OC on my podcast most recently, so I love golden era hip hop. But again, thanks again so much, Steve, for having me on.
Of course,
Stay mellow.
Of course. And then last quick thing, link to Lionel's podcast is in the YouTube description. So go listen, go subscribe. Where's it? Apple Podcast, Spotify, all that shit. Wherever you listen to podcasts, go listen to this podcast. Thanks. Appreciate you hopping on, Lionel. And as always, stay mellow, baby.
No doubt.